Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nique Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nique, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about my experience catching Derren Brown live in his latest stage show, Showman. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel, and as always, thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for spending some time with me today. So I've been away for a while. In fact, I just returned back to Singapore. Just a couple of days ago, I spent about a week over in the UK, all right, mainly in London, and also I spent one day traveling up to Stockton as well, where I caught Derren Brown's Showman. So if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you will know that I have been, looking forward to this trip up to UK to catch Derren Brown. Now, long story short, this trip was actually planned like the wrong way around, okay? Because what happened was I first bought tickets to the show, and then I planned the whole trip around that show. Even up to that point, I had no idea how I was going to make the time, have the money to do it. But all I knew that, I was going to be there and I had to be there somehow. And well, I'm really glad it all worked out. So yeah, I spent about a week over in the UK, mainly in London. The trip was, obviously, apart from all the usual touristy stuff, that, people tend to do, magically speaking, all right, or mentalism-y speaking. Mentalism-wise, all right, I managed to meet up Mark Paul actually. So Mark Paul really kindly, took the time to come meet me. I spent, an afternoon and a whole evening with him as well. He really kindly, took me on like a walking tour around certain parts of London, right? Covent Garden, Trafalgar Square, the River Thames as well. And then subsequently, we also had dinner where we, just had dinner, had a lot of fun, just chatting about magic and mentalism. So, Mark Paul has been a huge inspiration to me over the years as well in my own professional work, right? His ideas appear, right, in various forms in, a lot of things that I do, right? So it was really great, to finally get to meet him and chat with him in person. So on top of that, I also had the opportunity to meet up Mark Shandao, all right, who really kindly took the time to travel down to the part of London where I was putting up at, all right. I was staying at the King's Cross area, all right. It's an area that another friend of mine from the UK, Ken Dine, recommended, that I stay. So, I stayed there, and Mark actually came down. We had a really quick chat, he didn't have much time, but we met for a quick coffee at the train station, just chatting magic and mentalism. And then he also gave me, presented to me some gifts, all right, in the form of his two books, Harper Crown, as well as Harper Crown 2, all right. So I was really just so amazed that he was just so generous, right? Just sharing this with me and chatting and sharing with me a lot of, ideas and other routines and methods and stuff. So yeah, it was a really great evening. But enough about my trip, all right? We are here to talk about Derren Brown, right? So today's episode will be split up into two parts, all right? Two segments. The first part of today's episode, I'll be just focusing on Derren's show itself, all right, Showman. And then the second part of today's episode, I will be telling you a little story, okay, about how I managed to meet Derren himself. So if you're not interested in, the whole fanboy meeting session with Derren, you can just skip that part and just watch the first part itself. Or if you're interested to hear the whole story, my whole experience with Derren Brown, you can watch through all the way till the end. So let's get straight to it, okay? So arriving at the theatre. This particular show in Stockton was at a theatre called the Globe Theatre, okay, in Stockton on Tees. It's a beautiful exterior, it looks really nice. I arrived, and I swear to you, it was a bit strange for me, okay, because I was clearly the only Asian-looking face in the audience, okay? So everyone else in the queue were not like me, okay? I kind of stood out in the crowd almost like immediately. But yeah, I arrived at reception, it was, the anticipation was building already, everyone was just getting drinks, just sitting down, chatting. And also, I managed to meet a subscriber to my channel as well, Paul Allen. So a big shout out to Paul. Nice meeting you, we just chat a little bit about magic. So yeah, it was really nice to meet someone who got to know me on this channel. And then from there, I entered the theatre. All right, now my tickets were really great tickets. Okay, it was great seats. I was sat right in front of the stage, right, just 3 rows back from the stage. Okay, so 3rd row, dead center. Okay, so it was really great seats. I had an excellent view of the stage, and just being so close to the stage itself, I was just so excited, like, you know, like a kid on Christmas morning, right? I just really just couldn't wait for the show to begin. So the stage was really nice, you know, it was a really simple stage, but it was, you know, there was a really nice setting. Now, projected onto the back of the stage, I think I can say this much, there were like some words on the back of the stage, right, projected onto the wall. So even before the show began, there was again, right, a little mechanism. There was this thing to kind of get you excited already. So even before the show officially began, you were kind of involved some way already, right? There was a kind of expectation of what's about to happen. So I thought that was a really cool kind of thing to, you know, get people, you know, kind of excited and involved almost immediately. And then the show began. Okay, now from this point on, it's going to be really difficult to kind of talk about the show and, you know, to review the show, in fact, because, well, obviously I don't wish to, you know, speak about specific things that happen in the show because I don't want to give any spoilers, right? I want all of you, you know, who have not watched the show before, or if you are potentially going to watch the show, I really want you to have the full Derren Brown experience, right? So I will do my best to talk about, I don't know, stuff about what I feel, okay, about my experience at least, okay, but not about the specific things that happen during the show. So when the show started, it began with a kind of really strong visual hook, I think, you know, it was a kind of different kind of beginning and opening for Derren's show. I think usually we are kind of used to watching him do some other kind of things, right? But this particular show began differently. And then Derren came onto the stage. I cannot describe this moment to you. It was like I waited like 20 years for this to happen, you know, to actually see him on stage so close, right, just from the 3rd row. So he came on stage, and then the moment he spoke, you know, like, "Hello, Stockton," I was like in tears, you know. I mean, not exactly like crying, okay, but I was just really moved that I was finally watching Derren Brown. If you have not watched Derren Brown live before, the thing that will strike you almost immediately, all right, is his phenomenal stage presence, all right? He just controls the whole stage from the moment he arrives. The rapport that he has with the audience is really incredible, you know. He really had like full control of everything that was going on. It was just such a joy to see him working. So as with most of Derren Brown's shows, right, there's a lot of audience participation. You know, there's always a kind of anticipation that, you know, you can take part in what's coming up next, you know. So, you know, frisbees were being thrown around, you know, everything was just so random. Here's a hot tip for you if you are going to watch Derren Brown and you wish to have the opportunity or even have the chance to be selected to go on stage via the throw of a frisbee, right? Don't sit near the front, okay? Because the frisbees were just swishing over my head. There was no way I was gonna get a frisbee. But well, there was a part of the show, I think, I won't say exactly what, you know, but I was trying to get myself chosen. Okay, so I got up from my seat and I went to the edge of the stage. All right, so the stage was like just here and he was just stood here, right? So I went up there hoping that, you know, he would pick me. I was literally like, pick me, pick me. He didn't, okay? But that was really cool as well because there was this scene in my head of Derren just standing right in front of me, holding a microphone and addressing some people. And just that scene was just so, I don't know, just so magical, all right? As you can tell, I'm a huge fanboy. In terms of the effects that were performed during the show, there was a wide variety of effects, you know. Some of them you might not be too familiar with, but most of them, I think, you know, you would have, you know, seen it in one form or another, all right? But I think Derren has really kind of applied them in really clever ways. The opening routine was just so clever. I mean, I looked at it and obviously I was trying to switch off, right, my whole mentalism magic mind and just enjoy the show, but there were just some things that I couldn't ignore, right? It was just so clever. I was just thinking to myself at certain points during the show, like, that is just so clever, you know. I wish I had thought about doing things a certain way like that, you know, or a particular effect could be presented like that. And I think by now, most of you would have already gotten wind, all right, that this show is really different. There's a different tone to this particular show, right, Showman. The finale is not what you would kind of expect, you know. It's still incredible, you know, but it's not the kind of, you know, thing that you would normally kind of expect. It's just so hard to talk about this. So I have read a review that did mention something like that, so I think I can say it as well. The ending kind of scene, you know, that closed the first half, I had literally like people around me just gasping, all right, just going like, and you hear the whole audience just go like, and you know, the curtain closes for the end of the first half. So that was a really, really great moment. And speaking of great moments, you know, there were many, you know, kind of scattered throughout the show. As an audience member just watching the show, you know, I found myself really like reacting as well, right? Certain moments were really great. But as a magician, as a mentalist as well, there were some really great moments as well. Okay, I was just kind of like just in awe of like, that's so clever, you know, or like, don't tell me that's gonna happen, and it does, right? So it was really just a really great experience, both as an audience member and also as a kind of mentalist magician kind of an audience member. So as I mentioned, Showman is a different kind of show. Okay, it's a very personal show for Derren, and the way the show has been structured, I think, you know, if you have watched, you know, any interviews that Derren has done, you will know that he spoke of like creating light and shade in a show. There are highs and lows, quick routines and slower routines, and it's all about the audience's experience. When I first heard him mention, you know, it's all about the audience's experience, I didn't quite fully understand it at that point. Having watched him live now, I really get a better understanding of what he meant, okay? Because, you know, he's always creating moments for the whole audience. And the show becomes a really personal, emotional kind of a show because, well, you know, we've always been taught, right, that using personal information, revealing someone's birthday, their star sign, their first kiss, that kind of a thing, is great because it's emotional and stuff. But the thing is, that kind of only relates to that person on stage, right? But what he has managed to do is to create an emotional hook that pulls in the entire audience to him. So I found that really, really interesting, and it really was all about the audience's experience because he brings you on like highs and lows. There were some moments that were just so funny, and then there were moments that it was really touching, and then there were moments that, you know, was really heartwarming, you know, and the whole audience just goes like, oh, you know, that kind of a response, right? So he kind of evokes different kinds of emotions throughout the whole show, so you constantly feel really involved and really, you know, you really relate to the show. The pacing as well was really great, you know. There was some like quick, kind of snappier, traditional Derren Brown kind of effects, and then there were kind of slower sequences as well, which, you know, made for really dramatic, theatrical kind of moments, you know. So it's not just about like trick after trick after trick. Now, I was watching the show also through the eyes of a professional commercial performer, you know. So, I mean, as with many of us, I presume, right, we are, you know, the kind of performers that we go into people's space to perform. Our audiences don't come to our space to watch us perform. So, Derren can get away with a lot of, well, different kinds of methods, okay, which won't be available to me. You know, I really can't use any of those kinds of things, any of those kinds of approaches at least. One more thing that was really great watching him live was seeing how he handles things that don't go exactly according to plan. Okay, so in the show that I watched, all right, there were like 2 or 3 things, you know, that didn't go so well. And I think Derren really shines in these circumstances as well, right? In these kinds of situations, because it was really great to see how he kind of, I don't know, recovers, I suppose, or he just performs, you know, and just makes sure that those things weren't like issues, you know. It was just so great, you know, to see how he kind of handles these sorts of situations when things don't go exactly according to plan. But all in all, you know, it was a great experience. If given an opportunity, I would love to watch it again, all right? So I do believe he's still performing the show, you know, up all the way to like I don't know, February or March in 2023 in London actually. So, At the end of it all, I left the theatre, right, with a kind of, I don't know, mixed feelings because, well, I was kind of inspired, obviously, because, Derren really kind of showed me that it wasn't just about doing trick after trick, right? It was doing like a trick. Yes, there is an effect, but what is the bigger message, all right, that you can kind of tell people or give to people? What is the bigger experience that you can give people who are just watching you performing these tricks, right? So I was inspired because I know that I can get better, but at the same time I was also kind of demoralized, making you feel like just quitting, because I know that I will never be like Derren. It was a whole bunch of mixed feelings, inspirational and yet demoralizing, all right, but still a great experience. Alright, so now it's story time, alright, where I tell you how I actually managed to meet Derren Brown. Okay, so if you follow me on social media, you would have seen me posting photographs, okay, of me and Derren, chatting and stuff like that. This was an incredible kind of whole episode. So what happened was I left the theatre, and initially I wasn't intending to even try to meet Derren because I was thinking this is just so impossible, right? There's no way he's going to meet me. And then during my dinner with Mark Paul, Mark just kind of urged me, right? Go on, just try, meet him at the stage door. Wait for him out there. He comes out, he'll gladly sign your program and take a photograph, that kind of thing, right? So with his encouragement, I thought, maybe there is a chance, right? So at the end of the whole show, I just waited outside the theatre. I was looking around, being not familiar with the place, right? I was looking around. I had no idea where this magical stage door was. So I was hanging around outside. There were a lot of people hanging around outside. That in itself was interesting, okay, because I could overhear a lot of conversations about what people thought about the show, right? Things that they found amazing and stuff. So it was kind of interesting to kind of compare my experience with theirs. So I was waiting outside. I don't know, I was waiting for maybe like 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes. Everyone had left. The street was empty. It was dark, it was empty. And then it started to rain as well. I was thinking to myself, well, that's it. I think that's the end of this story, There's no way I'm meeting Derren Brown. Towards the side of the entrance of the theatre, just a little distance away, I heard the loud clang of a metal gate. Okay, I looked over and in the distance I saw two people just kind of walking away, crossing the street and walking off into the distance. Now, for a second, I could have sworn one of them was Derren. He looked over, he saw me outside, but he just quickly turned away and continued walking off into the night, right? I was thinking that's no way that's Derren Brown, right? So I waited for a while more, and well, the rain stopped. I left the theatre. I walked back to my hotel. I entered the lobby, and Derren was there. He was staying at the same hotel that I was staying in Stockton. Okay, so I spied him picking up like a drink from the bar and walking away and going into the kind of restaurant, right, in the hotel lobby, and then sitting down at one of the seats with like I think two other people. I realized that what, this is it. It's now or never. Okay, you've traveled all this way. You have to pluck up the courage to go say hi. So I went up to the table. I went up to him and I said, "Hello, Derren," and he just looked at me, kind of a bit of a confused look on his face. And the next words I told him were just, it's gonna sound just so silly, right? I told him, "Give me a second, I can't really talk properly right now." Okay, to which he just kind of smiled even wider. And then I told him that, my name is Nique Tan, I come from Singapore, I'm a performer from Singapore, and I've traveled all this way just to see you. At that point, he stood up, and he shook my hand, and thanked me for coming, right? And the moment when I was holding onto his hand, I was just looking at our hands like this, right? Holding each other's hands, and I told him, "I can't believe this is happening," right? And then he just looked at me, smiled, and said, "That's it right there, right? That's what you've been waiting for." And I told him, "Yeah." So he saw that I bought a program, all right, his show program, and he said, he offered to sign it as well. So he magically produced, well, not exactly magically, from his pocket a Sharpie, and then he signed my copy of his program. And then after that, you know, we just stayed there for a little while, just chatting a little bit about, you know, the show, the theatre, you know, talking about my trip to the UK, watching him as well, you know, the whole show, my whole experience. And I just told him, right, that, you know, there's so much I need to tell you, but there's just not enough time, right? Because I really don't wish to intrude, you know, you have to be tired and stuff. But he was really kind, you know, really kind, really obliging. We took some photographs and we chatted some more, and then yeah, that was it. You know, I just excused myself, you know, and I just told him that it was an honor to actually meet him and, you know, have the opportunity to just chat with him just in person. And before I left him, you know, he asked, you know, where were you sitting in the theater? And I told him I was sitting like in the third row in the center, and I had my glasses on, right? So he, you know, and then he said, oh yeah, okay, I remember the glasses now. I remember you were like in the middle. So I said, yes, that was me. I was trying to get selected, but you didn't pick me. And then he asked, were you also waiting outside the theater? And I said, that was you, right? That was you. I mean, yeah. And then he, you know, he picked up like a pair of glasses and he said, I was in disguise, just walking away really quickly. But yeah, I saw you outside. So that was really funny as well, I thought. But you know, that Derren actually walked past, but I had no idea that was him, right? And then to close off the whole thing, you know, I just, you know, didn't want to take up much of his time. It would have been great to just talk for the whole night, you know, and just tell him about all that he has done for me and all that he has done for mentalism. But, you know, I excused myself. I left him to, you know, go about his business. And that's it. That's the end of my Derren Brown story. So that's it, guys. You know, it turned out to be an awesome trip, you know, really fruitful one. I started the trip just buying tickets to his show, not knowing how I was going to get there. Eventually, I actually met up with him and I actually had the chance to speak to him as well. So it was an amazing experience for me, okay? And I'm really, really honored. I feel really lucky to have this experience. So yeah, you know, if you guys have the opportunity, please do go and watch Derren Brown live, all right, in his show, Showman. So in the coming weeks, you know, I do hope I have the opportunity to produce more episodes for you, okay, right here, because I do have some items lined up. You know, I've got items from Black Cat Magic, TCC, you know, so yeah, wallets and stuff like that, all right? You guys love wallets, right? So I'll be talking a little bit about that. Some downloads as well from the 1914, so it should be an interesting couple of episodes that will be lined up really soon. But till next time, guys, thanks for watching today's episode. I hope you found it interesting, all right? So till next time, please look after yourselves, stay safe, have fun with your magic and mentalism, and I will see you on a future episode of Nique Chats.